Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to case study number 2. This is the second facility I bought, Bloomfield Mini Storage, and it's located about 15 miles from where I live now. It was 7 miles from where I lived the time I bought it back in 2014. And as you can see here, there's three long storage buildings, roughly 13,500 square feet or so. There's also an office building up here. When I bought it, it had two apartments in it. We've since converted that to some climate controlled storage because I'm just done with apartments, to be honest with you. This section over here, it didn't look like this when we bought it. It was just a grassy field. I just didn't have a good overhead picture of it back then. And you can also see here this fence. There's a gate right here with an electronic operator, and the fence continues all the way around. That was added at the time of purchase. So if I can get my slides to scroll here, I will talk a little bit more about this. So this is what it looked like when we bought it, just this section here. It was 2 acres total with the 4 buildings on it that I described for you. Now this place was 100% full when we bought it. The problem was just over half of the folks were actually paying. So we had a lot of clean out to do. We did a massive auction. I remember it was 3 days before Christmas in 2014, right after we took over, and we had a huge auction with awesome turnout, despite the fact that it was 3 days before Christmas. It was a warm market. It wasn't a home run demand situation. There was a brand new facility just down the road that had me doing a little extra due diligence, but ultimately we decided this was going to be a good deal for us, so we did it. And I apologize that my ugly mug there is in front of the slide, but I will walk you through it. Our purchase price on this was 350 grand, and we budgeted 50 grand for the new parking lot and the perimeter fence with electronic security gate. I always put a security gate in, not because we need it for security reasons, but because we want non-paying customers to have a reason to pay us before they get back in to get their things. Certainly in certain neighborhoods or towns, you might want it for security as well. Bloomfield's not one of those places. It's a very rural, small town with not a lot of crime at all. But even so, the fence went in right away. We also had closing costs, so we were looking at about 420 grand to buy this one and get it looking the way we wanted it to look. I borrowed 80,000 of that from a private investor, and also 315 in conventional money from a bank. I put in 26,000 because we went over on budget a little bit, and I made up that shortfall. This is what it looked like when we bought it. Again, I apologize, my ugly face is in the way there, but if you can see purchase price here, or I'm sorry, at purchase, the numbers looked as follows. We're about $52,000 in incoming rent. These are the expenses. Again, nothing on advertising here, which is always the case, it seems, when we have an underperforming facility. The rest of the expenses weren't too far out of whack. And our net operating income on this was about 30 grand, which did not cover my debt service. So we were expecting, even in the first year, even though I anticipated increasing rents modestly and having realistic expenses, we had a net operating income that once you subtracted out our debt service, we were going to be negative just by a tiny bit. And so we bought this place knowing we'd lose money in year one. Now, again, being conservative, I'm happy to report that our actual numbers for the first full year in 2015 were considerably better than projected. Our rent, instead of going up by the 6 grand or so that we projected, went up by just about $20,000. And our expenses came in right where we thought they would. So that gave us a slight cash flow of 7 grand in the first full year. Again, nothing at all to get excited about. The take-home message here is sometimes if you want something bad enough, you'll work for a year without making any money because you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and you understand how this industry works. And so that's exactly what we did. 2016, here are the numbers again. We continued to increase revenue up to just under $98,000. Our expenses didn't change all that much, because the truth is a lot of expenses stay stagnant even as your revenue increases. Now, once you start adding buildings and whatnot, expenses will go up a little bit, but not nearly. The expenses don't go up nearly as fast as the income does, which is what makes storage an awesome investment vehicle, especially the way I do it, where we look for these underperforming facilities and that also have added land to expand onto, because it's just the perfect storm of profitability. So again, looking through here, this slide's a little old, so I have 2017 and 2018 projected numbers. The truth is, in 2017, we did, again, a bit better than projections, and we achieved these 2018 numbers in 2017. We've, over the course of the last couple of years, we've added several buildings, so we're now up to about 23,000 square feet of rentable space. We also did that climate-controlled conversion in the front building, and so these projected 2018 numbers are pretty close. They might fall a little short of where we actually are, but you can see here that this property has cash flow of around $43,000 a year, which is just under $4,000 a month. And if you do the math on this facility, I probably spend, since it's closest to home, I spend more time here than I do any of my other facilities, but it's maybe 2 to 3 hours a week. Call it 10 hours a month to make just under $4,000 a month. So $400 an hour is not bad at all. And that doesn't even count in the fact that we're paying our debt down by $30,000 a month. So that's another $30,000 in profits. The coolest part about it is it's profits I can't spend. So it forces me to be responsible and save that money for a rainy day, right? It's just in the form of equity, which of course we can gain access to if we need it. But if we don't need it, why would we? We'd just be paying interest for nothing. And so this property is worth just about $1.1 million today, less than 4 years after we bought it. We did have to borrow money to do the expansion, so we owe about $600 on it, but that's $500,000 in equity on top of the cash flow that we've been making right along. So again, this is another very profitable property. Again, these vehicles here have been cannibalized. I no longer offer outdoor parking. I have one camper today parked back here and one car over here, and that's it, because we've put 2 new row buildings here. They're each 2,600 square feet. This one here was 3,250. Not that you care about the specifics, but that's where it's at. So I kind of went over this summary already. We've added these buildings, and we did have to take on some more debt to do it. But as you saw, the profitability of this property was not quite as explosive as our Syracuse location, but still life-changing, at least for us. And so I'm very excited to share this with you, and I hope it doesn't come off as immodest. That's certainly not my intention. I'm just trying to help folks understand that storage is very powerful, and it can be a phenomenal tool to help you create the kind of life that you would if time and money were no object. And that's kind of what these storage facilities have done for us. We no longer worry about money, and that frees up our time. Instead of going to a 9 to 5 that we just merely tolerate, or doing other things that aren't getting us to where we want to be fast enough from an investment standpoint, we're able to live life, for lack of a better way to describe it. So I hope that's inspiring to you. If nothing else, it maybe gives you a little motivation to get out there and get smart on something, whether it's storage or not. If it gets you off the couch doing something that gets you excited, I'm all for that. If storage is your thing and you want to get smart on that, you can poke around this website a little bit, and there's a way. If you tap into our webinar there at the end, there's an opportunity for you to set up a phone call with me, and I'm happy to talk with you one-on-one about storage. So I'm going to sign off now. I know I'm long-winded and I apologize, but I hope you guys like that. Have a great one.